This is Mario Andretti, and you're listening to Fascination Street Podcast.
I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street.
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. You're not going to believe me, but I did it again. Yes, again, I bring you a legend. This time, it is one of the most legendary golf players in the history of the game, Mr. Gary Player. In Gary's time as a professional golfer, he won over 160 tournaments over 6 continents and 7 decades. He won 9 majors as a pro and 9 majors on the Champions Tour. Including, as a pro, he won the Masters tournament in 1961, 1974, and 1978. I was born in 1974. That's also the year that he was inducted into the World Golf Hall of Fame, and we talk about almost none of that during this episode. In this episode, we talk about what an amazing athlete Phil Mickelson is. He recently just won a big thing, and so that's what we talked about. We talked about health and fitness. We talked about the importance of staying fit and living a healthy lifestyle, and you can live to be 100. We talked about the importance of love and laughter, as well as a nonstop work ethic. Gary is big into fitness. I completely understand now how he got the nickname Mr. Fitness all those years ago. And he even tells us a joke or two to lighten things up when things get a little bit heavy. And they do. We talk about some pretty serious things, including the controversy surrounding him being awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I can't believe I got to talk to Gary Player, guys. He has a new podcast. It's called The Player Series, where he actually does talk to golfers about golf. So I highly recommend you go check it out. Again, it's called The Player Series. It's a new podcast dedicated to golf and the things and the equipment and the people that surround it. And if anybody has something to say about golf, it is this man who's had such a storied career. So definitely check out The Player Series, available everywhere. This is my conversation with world-renowned legendary golfer, humanitarian, philanthropist, and now podcaster, Gary Player.
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Gary Player. How you doing today, Gary?
Steve, I'm doing very well. I'm 85 and I feel like I'm 30, working out like a Trojan, eating properly, laughing a lot. Blessed to have a great family, and also blessed to be in the greatest country that ever existed, the United States of America.
Wow, what a ringing endorsement, because you're not even from here, are you?
No, sir. I'm from South Africa, but I have 3 children that are citizens and 15 American grandchildren, and couldn't be more proud.
Fantastic. So what we're going to do today, Gary, is we're going to get to know you. We're going to talk about all kinds of cool different things, including, aren't you friends with Phil Mickelson?
Well, I certainly like to think that I'm friends with Phil Mickelson. This was an extraordinary week, one of the most extraordinary weeks in history. First of all, he's the oldest man to win a major championship. And I've been saying this because I work on longevity a lot, particularly with the Cleveland Clinic, who are predicting that in 14 years plus minus, they'll be able to guarantee you almost another 10 years of life, as long as you're in reasonable condition and you adhere to their principles. Now, if you look at Phil Mickelson, he's lost weight. And I think the biggest and the theme of this interview that I have with you, I like to contribute to society. I've traveled more miles than any human being that's ever lived. And one of my messages is I beg people, look after your body. It's a holy temple. And obesity, they talk about COVID, which is serious, but cancer, diabetes, heart attacks, those are the things that are the really serious diseases of the world. But by fighting obesity, you're fighting these diseases. If you are not obese, you're a greater contributor to this country as well, because a fit nation is a very productive nation. And also, if you're obese, it's going to hurt your longevity. I'm in the racehorse business, and if you put 10 pounds on one horse that's as good as the other horse will beat it. And 10 pounds on a horse is 1 pound on a human being. And this has got to be the thrive. This has got to be the ambition for people in this great country of America. When you get past 40, you got to weigh the same as you weighed when you were in your prime, because your body gets weaker. Nothing gets stronger. Everything gets weaker. More pressure on the heart, the brain, all your muscles, etc. So keep lean and mean. That's my great contribution to America. Now, if you look at Phil Mickelson comes out. He lost a lot of weight. You could see it in his face. You could see it in his step. If you look at the way he was focused. Now, the mind is a fascinating thing. Einstein said if we could use 15% of our mind, what a difference it would make. Wait until we get to 20%. Now, here is a man you could see, which I did when I wanted to beat Nicklaus to win the Grand Slam. I did a very similar thing, and I've been preaching this for 30, 40 years. He was almost in a reverie, almost self-hypnosis if you watched him. And what wins golf tournaments? I'm so tired of hearing about long hitting. What wins a golf tournament and most sporting events and also things in life is the mind. He was mesmerized to a state. He was in the zone. He was concentrating, etc., filling his mind with positive thoughts. And now, having lost the weight, he had tons of energy. And he also, what he has at his age at 50, which is very unusual, is a long backswing. Now, this is something that professional golfers, a lot of them are teaching people to have a shorter backswing. I always say you can never be too long. And Phil Mickelson proved that, and that's another reason why he happened to win. It's encouraging for lefties around the world. I've always said to be categorized or as a superstar, you've got to win 6 majors. Now, a lot of people obviously disagree with me, and that's the wonderful thing. We still have a little bit of freedom of speech left. So you're entitled to say what you like as far as that's concerned. But I say you've got to win 6 majors to be a superstar. Now, there's a difference. Superstar and star, there's a little bit of a difference. So he fits into my category as a superstar. Plus, what I love about Phil Mickelson, if you watch the other players playing in the tournament, a lot of the young guys, they'd hold a 20-foot putt, and honestly, there was hardly a smile on their face. Phil Mickelson, he is enthusiastic, and enthusiasm is one of the great essences of life. He was waving to the people. You got to give the spectators love, man. They're giving you love. They were pouring it out for him, and he was reciprocating, and this is what he's done better than any pro on the tour right now. If I was a sponsor, Phil Mickelson, and I said this before his major win, he would be my man that I would want to endorse because he would appeal to my public. So I cannot speak highly enough of him. He's an intelligent man, but it was also so nice, Steve, to see the people pouring out on the golf course again. You know that Canada just opened up recently their golf courses. Now, if ever there was a safe place to be, is a golf course where you're out in the fresh air and you're not standing next to each other all the time. And that was so nice to see that. When you think of the damage, and I mean, Corona it's a terrible thing, but you think of the damage that's been done with people locked up, elderly people, Steve, like my age, living in a little 2 or 1 bedroom apartment. No wonder there's suicides, divorces, depression, drug abuse, alcoholism. Look at the damage that's done to society, man. Honestly, and I mean, there's so many contradicting ideas about masks and whether it's good to be inside, good to be outside. We're all so confused, it's frightening. But all I know is it was encouraging to see all these people out in the open, enjoying life, full of enthusiasm and getting exercise. You've got to exercise. I'm telling you, man, I'm 85. If you don't exercise, you're going to die early unless you're a freak. You have got to exercise. You've got to exercise. You've got to eat half as much as you eat. You've got to exercise. You've got to laugh a lot. And you've got to have unmeasured love in your heart. And this is what America has always been.
Now, going back to when you mentioned a bunch of the diseases that kill folks around the world, you linked them to obesity. And I think that the studies are now in that obesity is probably the biggest factor in how bad COVID is going to affect you. And so I think that maybe not just us, but I think maybe countries around the globe sort of missed a golden opportunity to use that time where we were all panicked about COVID and still are to a degree, to educate us about obesity and about how we can maybe not be obese. I think we missed a golden opportunity to really, really stress the health aspect of all of us. And I'm sure America is one of the fattest countries that there is, if not the fattest country.
Being from South Africa, some of your viewers would be amazed, but we have probably as high a standard of living, or as high a standard of living as any country in the world. Obviously, you have people that don't have it, but they'll always have and have nots, unfortunately. But America are not interested in their body. You've got 350 million people. How many people do you think exercise, Steve? Let's say of 350, I mean, this is all hypothetical and guessing the numbers. But whatever the numbers are very few when you think of the large population. Very few people really exercise. And the ones that do exercise, they exercise for 1 year and then they quit. They all overeat. They eat like it was the Last Supper. And let me tell you, it might be the Last Supper. So we've got to educate children in schools. But what schools in America will talk about your body, your health, and what you eat? Very few. I don't know. Are there any? I don't know. Maybe there are, but very few. I know I have 15 American grandchildren. I ask them. They're not taught about how to exercise and to look after your body and how to stay fit. People obviously overeat tremendously. That is a sin. The less you eat, the longer you live. That is a fact that comes across the world. And as I say, I've listened to all the scientists around the world, particularly India, where they are brilliant, and Japan, where they live a long time. They don't overeat. And I think the worst thing you can do, and let me tell you, it's not easy to lose weight. I've got members of my family that are fat, that had to become vegans and change their entire way of eating to lose the weight. I'm not saying everybody's got to do that. But I right now am trying to lose 5 pounds. And I work out very, very hard. I work out like a 30-year-old. But that's not good enough. It's what you eat, Steve. It's what you put in that mouth of yours. And I find the best way for me to lose weight is have 2 meals a day, intermittent fasting. And so what I'm trying to do now is stop eating dinner. You don't put gas in your car when you park it in the garage at night. You need breakfast, you need lunch, because that's when you're using all your energy. You don't need energy at night. But everybody goes to bed at night with bread in their stomach. They're drinking, they're smoking, they're overeating, they're having desserts, a lot of sugar. No wonder so many people are getting cancer. You know, if you think of how many people get cancer and heart attacks as compared to COVID, I mean, it's Mickey Mouse. I mean, the numbers are astounding. My wife right now is dying of pancreatic cancer. My mother died of cancer. My sister died of cancer. My niece had cancer. My daughter had a breast removed. So, you know, now my wife's got it. Everybody you meet, I'm sure you know, Steve, if you did a survey, everybody knows somebody that's had cancer. That is the dreaded disease of the world, that and heart attacks. And diabetes, because of the diet and because of the obesity, diabetes, my one son is a type 1 now. He puts a needle in himself 7 times a day, trying to regulate it. Diabetes is the next big disease in America.
Well, I can certainly understand how you earned the nickname Mr. Fitness.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Hi, guys. I'm Vinny Tortorich. I'm the guy that has the Fitness Confidential podcast and the book by the same name. I've started a few companies, but I just started a company called NSNG Foods, and our first product is Ultra Fat. What's that? You say fat? Oh, yeah, it's got fat in it. It's got ultra fat. And the reason we call it ultra fat is because it also has electrolytes. So this is something you want to take when you're on the move, taking the nation and the world by storm. We have the coffee almond with coconut and vanilla. We also have the one with coconut, vanilla, and almonds with no coffee. So you can go check it all out, nsngfoods.com. Now go listen to my good friend Steve Owens because he knows what he's talking about.
Let's get back into it.
So, yes, cancer is a big deal. My best friend lost his wife due to pancreatic cancer a few years ago. My mother passed in the same year of leukemia. My grandmother, she lost both of her breasts from cancer. So right there with you, man, I understand. When you were talking about how to live longer and the things that were important besides health, you mentioned laughing every day and you mentioned having love in your heart. What do you think the importance is of laughing every day? How does that affect you?
Yeah, you see, it's the type of living you do now has always been the United States of America. And visiting here and looking at it from the side, it's now the divided states. You know, you find people fighting. When I first came to America 60 years ago and have been coming every year and saw this dynamic country, and now I see people fighting. If you say you're a Trump fan, they want to fight you. If you a Biden fan, they want to fight you. What does it matter? Surely you've got to have respect for another man's political view. Isn't that the gentlemanly? Isn't that the decency? Isn't that the right thing to do? But people today, I got the Medal of Freedom from Donald Trump. Now, I think I've changed the lives of millions of people around the world. I've devoted my life to freedom. I came from a country that practiced apartheid. So I sponsored schools for blacks at home. I sponsored hospitals, aid centers in China, sponsored black golfers overseas, built schools, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But when I got the Medal of Freedom from Donald Trump, 2,000 of our followers on Instagram called me a racist, simply because I got it from Donald Trump. It's not a Donald Trump award. It's a Medal of Freedom that is started by that wonderful man, President Kennedy, long, long ago. It's the greatest honor that's ever been bestowed upon me, because freedom, and having seen the things I've seen what socialism has done around the world, Steve. And I tell you, the young students of America are so naive. If I look at the students in South Africa, compared to the students or our standard of education in South Africa, compared to America, America doesn't come close. Our students are well informed. Many of our young students at high school speak 5 languages. They have dress codes. They are taught manners. I mean, it's just a complete different setup. And so America has to really, in my opinion, wake up now. You need strength. You get peace through strength. You've got a lot of countries wanting to destroy America. You've got to stick together. If ever in the history of America, you've got to stick together. Now is the time. And I just love this country so much, Steve. I just hate to see any division whatsoever. As I said, unmeasured love. You see, Steve, if you laugh, take the difference between laughing and crying. It's an enormous discrepancy. Now, when you laugh, you feel happy. You're actually, I think, in my humble opinion, developing youthful cells. Now, when you're miserable and depressed and crying, you know how you feel. You feel terrible. So it makes a massive difference to your lifespan. These are just my opinion. I'm not trying to be a know-all. I'm just giving you questioning me, I'm giving you my opinions.
You keep saying how much you love America, and you first came over here 60 years ago or whatever. When did you decide to stay here, and what made you decide that?
No, I don't stay here. I'm a visitor here. I'm still a South African, and I visit and play the tour and try and raise a lot of money for charities. But I'm still very active, I'm happy to say. No, I'm still a South African citizen. We were very blessed in our time of apartheid to get a man like Nelson Mandela, he and I raised a lot of money for young black children. He was one of the most incredible men. I put him there with Martin Luther King. I put him there with Mahatma Gandhi. These are incredible people of the world, aren't they?
They are, absolutely. But you live here in America, right? Or just
I don't live in America. I have a property down on the coast here in Florida, but still basically only spend X amount of time here a year when playing senior events or golf matches of some kind.
Gotcha. Where do you display your Medal of Freedom?
I've got it here in my apartment right here. It's something very, very special. Particularly when you can't explain, it was very difficult to live in South Africa. You know, it was a tough thing with that apartheid. And one of the interesting stories, when I first came over here in 1957, I went to Los Angeles and I was playing in the LA Open, and I met the black golfer Charlie Sifford. So I met him. I said, Mr. Sifford, how did you play today? He says, no, I'm not allowed to play in the tournament because I'm black. And that really hurt me because I had experienced this in South Africa. And I went to the PGA and tried to do what I could. And then I helped raise some money for him in Cleveland, Ohio. And eventually he got on the tour and he played very well. I loved his philosophy. He went through great difficulties in his life. You can understand. But what he did was he realized that everybody has to have adversity of some kind. He built on that. He spoke to young players and said, look, this is what happened to me. I don't want it to happen to you. I'm now able to make money. I'm now able to play. It's up to you to take the baton and continue it. And that's what I loved, his philosophy. And that was basically Martin Luther King. Look at Michael Jordan, how well he's behaved. I mean, I just think athletes have got to behave well and set the stage. You look at a man like Jim Brown was a football player when I was a young man. He was a tremendous player. He's gone into the black neighborhoods and he's spoken to these young black men and try to get them to be thinking right. That's the way to go. Don't build hatred. Don't build people to be militant. Build people to love. Love beats hate. And that's the way to build a strong America. Yes, I had difficulties. I wasn't allowed to play in Japan. I wasn't allowed to play in China. I wasn't allowed to play in India, Denmark, Sweden. I can go all that because I was from apartheid. I didn't invent apartheid, but I was barred from playing in all these countries. When I played in the PGA in Dayton, Ohio in 1969, I lost the PGA, one of the 4 most important tournaments in the world, by 1 stroke. Because they were demonstrating against South Africa, they demonstrated against me. To get the news to South Africa, they threw telephone books in my back. They threw ice in my eyes. They charged me on the green. They threw balls between my legs when I was putting. They screamed. And this is how it went, ice in my eyes. So, but I never was bitter. I didn't hate America. I didn't hate people. I said, well, that's part of the adversity that I was going through. I'll show these people how by behaving well, they're really demonstrating against the wrong man. I think you've got to still approach everything with love in your heart and for the betterment of society. Don't add fuel to the fire.
Agreed.
That's only my opinion. Now, I can speak because I've had difficulties. I know what it is to struggle in life. Let me tell you, my friend, I know what it is. I had nothing. My mother died when I was 9 years of age. My brother went to war at 17 from South Africa to fight with the Americans and the British. I know what it's like. I've had a lot of death in my family, so I understand. I understand difficulties.
So going back to when you were a little kid and you lost your mom and your brother left, why golf? What drew you to golf?
Very few people realize it, that South Africa, this relatively small country, has won more major championships than any country in the world other than the United States post-war. 23 majors. 23 majors. We had 3 South Africans in the PGA this week, and the last 6 teeing off on the final day. And our man, Louis Oosthuizen, finished second. And he putted like a dog. If he putted reasonably well, he would have won. But he never. There's no ifs in sport or in life. Ifs don't matter. It's the bottom line that matters. But South Africa is a dynamic sporting country. We're the world champion rugby players at this moment. We were the first country to do the heart transplant. It's been an incredible country. And so my father, who worked on a gold mine, 8,000 feet under the ground for £100 a month and had 3 children, he started to play golf. And he said to me, come and play golf. I was a 4-letter man at college. I wasn't interested in golf. I said, no, that's a sissy's game. He said, come and play. And thank God he asked me to go and play golf because it's a sport that has longevity like no other sport. I mean, I'm 85 and still extremely active, traveling. Well, with the COVID, I've been prevented from traveling. But it's extremely active, working hard, tons of energy. So thank goodness he started me with golf and made me more friends because I love people. A lot of celebrities, when they see people, they want to go the other way. When I see people, I go to them. I go to people on airplanes. I say hello to people in restaurants. If I see an old lady in the airport sweeping the airport, I'll give her $100. Say, make her feel good. If it wasn't for you, this airport wouldn't be this clean. Well done. Make people feel good. This was the attitude when I first came to America. Make people feel good. America have been the great Samaritans of the world. You're continuously giving all your money away to all the world you have throughout the years. I've never quite understood that. Yes, you've got to be a Samaritan. But what about helping the people in the inner cities of America first? What about doing your infrastructure and all the things you've got to do here first? Hiring your education system. You've got a lot of things you've got to do in this country first. Now, yes, help people, but not to the extent that you've done, in my humble opinion. Look after more of your people first.
I feel like you're right. We used to do that. I feel like we got a little bit away from that in the last couple of decades. I'm going to say that this is my favorite of your wins, and I'm only bringing this up because it was the year I was born. You won the Masters in 1974, and that's also the year that you got inducted into the Golf Hall of Fame. So that was a great year for both of us, shall I say. Which of those 3 was your favorite? Which of your 3 Masters wins was your favorite?
Steve, when you talk about Augusta, I won it 3 times. I was second 3 times, the top 10, 14 times, the most number of cuts in a row, and the most number of times to play in it. So to divide it up is very difficult. When you win the first one, particularly winning against Arnold Palmer, and I did a lot of meditation and brainwashing because I knew when you're playing against this great icon and my dear, dear friend Arnold Palmer, who we traveled the world together, we were like brothers. When we were on the golf course, we weren't brothers. We were trying to win. The people, as they were for Phil Mickelson yesterday, which he deserved, they were like that for Arnold Palmer. And who's this little South African guy we've never heard of coming over here and trying to beat our icon? So it was not easy. And I knew that was going to be a very, very tough thing. Although they treated me extremely well, it was not as well as they were treating Arnold, and understandably so. But I had to have a strength of mind to do it. And to win that first Masters meant I had 2 legs in the Grand Slam, and I wanted to be the first modern-day player to win the Grand Slam, which I did. So then you come along in 78 at the oldest man to ever win the Masters at 42, and to come back in 30, the final round, and to beat Tom Watson and a host of others. Wow. And then you see there were 4 of us tied with 4 holes to go. And I went birdie, birdie, birdie to win. So, wow, that's like a dream. Honestly, if you've got golf enthusiasts, tell them to Google the 1978 Masters and they'll see what I mean about it. In 74, you were talking about, I won the British Open and the Masters and came close to winning the Grand Slam in 1 year. So it's very hard to separate. Anytime you win a major, it's a great year.
Now, was it the 61 jacket that you got in trouble for taking home in 62 or whatever?
Yes. Here I win the tournament. I'm so excited. You're meeting President Eisenhower, who I admired so much. And there's Bobby Jones, debatably the best player that ever lived. He played with a walking stick as a shaft and a ball that went 80 yards less. No mows to cut the greens properly, rake the bunkers with your feet, etc., etc. You're meeting this great Bobby Jones and this great ambience of this great golf tournament. What a thrill that was. I'll never forget that. I really don't know which one means the most to you. A major means so much. And I mean, I know I was just telling my daughter last night, we were sitting watching this. I've been second in 7 majors. I threw away 3 of them. But everybody seems to do that. Not everybody, but a lot of people do. Nicholas was second in 19 majors. How good is that? I mean, it's quite extraordinary. It's almost not possible, but he was. Only your wife and your dog know who's second. You've got to win, my man. You've got to win. That's if you've got a good dog and a good wife.
Transitioning a little bit, I understand that you have a podcast.
We do, which is very, very exciting. We speak to different people. We just spoke to Brad Faxon last week about who the 10 best putters that ever lived. We had a difference in opinion, a slight difference. I think it's almost impossible to pinpoint that exactly. There have been so many great putters. Well, the 3 best that ever lived were Tiger Woods, Bobby Locke from South Africa, and Ben Crenshaw. Those are the 3 closest that I would put in a row. But there's so little difference. It's like saying, who's the best golfer that ever lived? Very little difference. I mean, I've never seen a man play golf like Ben Hogan. Now, think about this. Ben Hogan and Sam Snead, they went to war in the middle of the prime of their golfing time for 5 years. Then Hogan came back and had an accident. So for plus minus 32 majors, in his prime, Ben Hogan never played in a major, and he still won 9. He would have won the most. But there again's ifs, you see. Sam Snead the same. You take tennis. I love to watch tennis. Rod Laver won 10 Grand Slams, but he was stopped from playing in his prime in the Grand Slam events. Mr. Hunt of the Hunt family controlled the tennis tour, as I understand. This is what I've been told. He and the Tennis Association barred the professionals from playing in the Grand Slam events. And yet he won 10 majors. And yet they're quick to say, oh, Nadal or Federer or Djokovic are the best that ever lived. You've got to think about when you're talking about the best ever lived. And are you always talking in golf, the best golfers in America, or are you talking about the best golfers around the world? There's a very, very big difference.
There is a big difference. And I think generally we're talking about America because that's just how we are.
Well, no, that's fair enough. It's the biggest and best country in the world. and it's a world of its own, so I can understand it.
So the show is called the Player Series. How often does it come out? Does it come out weekly, bi-weekly?
We're still in our infancy working out what is the best to make it weekly or bi-weekly. Well, it's debatable with our committee, our board, but I would like to say at this stage, I think bi-weekly would be better. I'll take advice from them.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense. And it's available everywhere, right? My listeners can go check it out right now.
I would assume so. You know, my idea on technology is like yours on being teeing off in the first tee at Augusta.
That's awesome.
You might get so scared you start growing some hair.
Oh, you got me.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Welcome to the Player Series. I'm Gary Player, and throughout the series, we're going to take you through incredible stories, conversations with legends and current players, perspectives on current events in and around golf, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe to the Player Series on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast.
Let's get back into it.
In 2013, you took all your clothes off for a magazine. Why would you do that, man?
Well, first of all, because my big dream, as I said, my big dream for America is to get through obesity and avoid it and make a healthy country. Also, I don't know if healthcare systems will be able to exist. People are getting so sick. Will healthcare systems be able to exist in future? It's debatable. But anyway, so here I exercise. I'm very proud. I'm in my 40s at that stage. Very proud. I mean, even today, if I go like this, look at my stomach out. See that? It's like a plank. So I was very proud of that. And I'm trying to get the message through to America. So when my son said that they wanted me to do this, I thought, oh, no, I'm not going to do this. And that's not my kind of lifestyle. He said they are very discreet, of which they are. And they did it in a very nice way. And they patch you up so you don't see your private parts. And you show your body, which I was very proud to do and never regretted it, because I'm trying to get that message through how well you can be and how the body, the human being's body, is supposed to live to at least 100. But nobody prepares their body. When I say nobody, 0.1110% or 0.001% prepare their body to live a long time. You take a man like Jack LaLanne. Do you ever hear of him?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jack LaLanne was a dear friend of mine. Here was a man that came the closest. I think he lived to 94. He didn't eat, well, the things that he told me that he never ate. He said he never eats white bread. He never eats donuts. He never eats pizza. He doesn't drink milk. He doesn't eat meat. He didn't eat sugar. He was an amazing man, and he exercised like a fiend, and he was a tremendous personality, and he actually saved tens of millions of lives around the world. And yet he just faded away into heaven, not being given much recognition by the leaders of the world, unfortunately.
How did he save millions of lives?
Well, by telling people how to eat, by telling people how to exercise, telling people how to go about their way of life. And it influenced them tremendously. This man, he'd go from Alcatraz to the mainland pulling a boat with his feet. I mean, this guy was a freak. He was something. He had a big show, a big TV show, and he influenced millions of people around the world.
Not just telling people how to eat and how to exercise, but showing them, which I think is a big part of the deal.
Exactly.
So you said that you eat 2 meals a day and then you don't eat dinner. What do you eat? What do you eat for breakfast? What do you eat for dinner? I mean, what do you eat for lunch?
Well, first of all, I also like Jack LaLanne. I try my best. I don't ever tell people, look, you mustn't eat this because you're looking for trouble. But I do. I try not to eat bread. I don't see much food value in bread. I don't eat bacon. I haven't had a piece of bacon in 25 years. I don't eat ice cream. I love ice cream and bacon, however, but those are conducive to adding on weight. And they made me feel nauseous, so they were telling my body that this is not good for you. You see, I think everybody's body's different. What one man's poison is another man's luxury. So you've got to be careful what you say. Don't eat it. I can tell you what I don't do. I try my best because I've got a sweet tooth. Sometimes when I had a Snicker, I didn't even take the damn paper off it. That's how bad I was. But anyway, I try and not eat that. I'm doing well. But what I do is I watch TV at night and I sit there and I snack. And that defeats the whole objective of not having dinner. So now I'm starting to stop having snacks at night. If I'm going to have my snacks, I'm going to have it during the day. But I'm really going to try my best now because I've got to lose 5 to 7 pounds. It's not easy. And I understand people that are overweight. I understand it is not easy, but they have just got to. I see these people, they are enormous. They cannot live a long time unless it's a freak. And this is what doctors, I'd love to see doctors. Of course, doctors are going to be careful. They sued for saying things. America is a very litigious society. You've got to be very careful what you say. But that's why I'm very careful in saying, don't eat this, do eat this. But I eat a lot of fruit, I eat a lot of vegetables, I eat a lot of salad, and I eat a lot of things like olive oil. There's so many good things, green shakes, a lot of dark green vegetables. I eat a lot of that kind of stuff. That's very important to study what you should be eating. And, I think you should be eating a lot of fish. The omega is very important. I think there are a lot of things that you've got to do to stay in shape and look after yourself. Now, why they don't teach us in schools, I do not know. Because it's going to save the healthcare system. It's going to make America productive. It's going to give people joy instead of sadness. When somebody dies of obesity when they're young, and yes, they're gone. They don't feel anything. Now it's the mother, the father, the brother, the sister, the cousin, the friends. We left with the misery. So we have a debt incurred to our family and to our country to look after ourselves. I believe that's the way I look at it. I'm very disappointed in the schools of the United States of America. You should be by far the best in the world. Let me tell you, the students in Japan are so far advanced over American students, it's unbelievable. There are students around the world that are far ahead of America. I saw the list where America was rated in education. It was very sad to see. You should be number one. Number one.
Well, I'll try. I'll try to be number one. I'll try to turn that whole ship around all by my lonesome. Just kidding. What can we do to change that? What can we do to right the educational ship?
Well, first of all, you've got to have dedicated teachers. That's a very big thing too. I'm not convinced that the teachers are all that dedicated as I thought they were. You've got to have students. Unfortunately, you can't get them to travel. If I had the money of a Bill Gates, for example, I would take 100 students of America and I'd send them around the world to countries like Venezuela, China, Russia, places in Africa, place like Zimbabwe, other places, and let them see for themselves what socialism is doing to the world. And let them see how lucky they are to live in America. They'll come back and they'll kiss the ground every single day. And yet I continuously hear students saying what a bad country America is. What are they talking about? What are these people talking about? Yes, America has had racism. I'm the first to admit it, and I hate it. I've fought and spent my life fighting it. But you've got to look into the future now. Yes, it was bad now, but build on the future and continue to make this the greatest country. You can't go back and live with hatred in your heart. You don't forget it. It was a terrible time in life. And I had, as I said, I suffered myself. But you've got to go ahead, man. You've got to build on in the future for the sake of the young black kids and the white kids and the Hispanic and the Asian kids that are living in this country. Give them hope. Give them confidence. Don't fill their minds with negative and lousy thoughts. This is America, man.
Now, after something as serious as that, I think you should tell us a joke. Laughter's important, you said.
I had a lot of very good Jewish friends. I was in South Africa. I was at 2 Jewish clubs at the golf club. And I had a Jewish friend that I used to phone. I phoned him one day and I said to him, Oscar, how's your wife? He says, compared with whom? He was always laughing and joking. So he says, how much money are you playing for on the American tour? I said, Oscar, we are playing for tens of millions. This American golf tour is unbelievable. We're playing for tens of millions of dollars. Marvelous, he says. Remember what I told you when you were a little boy at the club? Money's not the most important thing in the world, but I still put it up there with oxygen. So you see, we've all got to have that laughter. Man, I tell you, I tease all my grandchildren and my wife. I've been blessed to have a wife. I've been blessed to live with my wife now, or been with my wife, associated with her for 71 years.
Whoa.
How about that?
Well done.
Yeah. But now you see, you go to some of these Arab countries, they have 5 wives, and that's their belief, and they're happy with that. So it's a different culture. Now, 5 wives, not so bad, but I wouldn't like to have 5 mother-in-laws.
Oh, that is fantastic.
You know, we live in a world, though, you see, Steve, this is the terrible time that we live in now. What anybody who's got an opinion of something, they say so, and the next thing, people that are full of hate come right back at you with terrible things. They don't want to look at the future and build on it. They want to stay back in the past. They want to say lousy things and be full of hatred, and you cannot live like that. It says, forgive us of our trespasses as we forgive them that trespass against us. Now, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Jewish, whether you're black, whether you're white, whatever you are, you got to move ahead and build on the future, man.
Agreed. Tell me about the Player Foundation or the Black Knight Foundation. Are those the same thing, or are they different foundations?
Well, my daughter now is going to be running this out of Philadelphia now, and it's going to be mainly for children, basically for underprivileged children and abused children. You know, there's nothing worse. There are 2 things that appeal to me very much indeed, are the vets that come back and children that are abused and don't have parents and parental love. Oh, man, it's just so sad, either of them. But if you look at the vets, my son, Wayne, he just had some of the vets go down to South Africa a little while ago to entertain them and looked after him. I was very proud of him. And I've done a few days for them in the United States. But here are people that go around the world fighting for America to keep America free. If it wasn't for them, you and I wouldn't be sitting here and talking today. And when they come back, and what have they been given? If I was president of the United States in these times, I would have given everyone that came back a house and $100,000 rather than giving some country out in the boondocks billions of dollars. I wouldn't like to mention the names of some of the countries that the amount of money that's going to. It's not my business to start criticizing that, but I'm amazed.
So I think that as far as, you know, we were just talking about children and being abused and things like that, that's the gift that keeps on giving, because the abuse doesn't stop with that kid. When that kid gets older, they think it's perfectly okay and acceptable to go on and perpetuate that and abuse again. So that's just...
it's a chain reaction. And, you know, there's so many things that have got to be taken care of. I can't imagine a pedophile stealing my child, you know, the kind of things that happen. I can't imagine that. I mean, to me, I don't think whatever they do is strict enough to punish them. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's so many things that do exist that we got to, together, all of us together have got to fight, irrespective of what country you're in.
Right. We're all on the same planet. We're all humanity. We all need to take care of these kids and each other. So I agree wholeheartedly.
You see, well, the best run country in the world is Singapore. They don't tolerate drug peddlers. They don't tolerate pedophiles. They don't tolerate murderers. They don't tolerate these people. And, you know, you got to try and live in a safe society. To live safely is so important for peace of mind.
Agreed. Well, Gary, I think I've had you for about my time now, and I don't want to go out talking about pedophiles and child abuse. So can you tell me one more joke so we leave on a happy note?
Well, why don't you tell me one?
Oh, no. Okay, I'll tell you a golf joke that a friend of mine told me recently. Now, this is just a little bit blue, so maybe have your daughter cover her ears. So my friend Kinky Friedman was telling me that him and Willie Nelson went to go play golf, and they were up on the tee box, and they were sitting there talking to the golf pro of the course, and this woman comes running up, and she says, Hey, I got stung. I got stung by a bee. And the golf pro says, well, which hole was it? And she said it was between the first and second hole. And the golf pro said, well, I can tell you right now, your stance is too wide.
Yes, that's right. Well, I've enjoyed talking to you, Steve. I give all your listeners my best love, and take care. And Let's all work to build and make America absolutely as strong as it ever was.
I agree. And before I let you go, is there anything we didn't talk about or I didn't ask you about that you wanted to talk about? Did I miss anything?
No, I think that we covered a lot of subjects. Obviously, there are a lot of things in life that one can cover, but I think we covered things that are important. You know, a lot of young people come to me and say, how do I become a champion? And I say, whether it's in life or golf or business or being a father or a family man or whatever it may be, a businessman, Winston Churchill was the greatest leader that I ever knew in my lifetime. He had September 11 probably every 3 weeks. I mean, what this man went through is unbelievable. And the command of the English language he had, the courage, how he joined the soldiers. I mean, an extraordinary man. Inspired people that were going through miserable times. They asked him why he did so well in life. He said, well, the height that great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but while his opponents were sleeping, he was toiling upward in the night. And if you want to be the best, whatever endeavor you're associated with, you've got to outwork the other people. And we've got to instill in people what made America the best country in the world was not luck. Luck is the residue of design. You've got to work hard. You've got to keep that work ethic. And that's what I see dwindling a little bit in America now. The work ethic is not to the extent that it has always been. And we've got to get that. We come back to the parents. We come back to the schools. That's where it's got to come from. We've got to have great teachers to teach the children. But how do they know? How do the teachers know how lucky you are to live in America? They never traveled to other places, so they don't know. You have to experience what I've experienced. When I hear people saying this is a bad country, I'm saying, well, I'd like to do. If you don't like it, just try somewhere else. You'll be back next week. Amen.
Amen. Well, Gary, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your hectic schedule to hang out and let us get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street. I really appreciate it.
I had such great times playing in San Antonio. I just love Texas. I just love being there. Take care.
Well, I love it here too. Thank you so much, Gary. You have a great week, okay?
Same to you, Steve.
Bye-bye. Hey, Streetwalkers, it's time for a giveaway. Thanks to our generous friends at Sylvania, we're going to give away some Bluetooth speakers. What do you think? These are fairly special and limited Fascination Street podcast edition, as they have a little Fascination Street emblem on the end. This oblong Bluetooth speaker is about 8 inches tall and about 3 inches in diameter, and is IPX4 waterproof. So how do you win? Well, what I need all of you to do is post a short video to your Instagram story, your Facebook story, or even your TikTok, telling everybody why you love Fascination Street Podcast and which is your favorite episode. Make sure to tag the show in these videos, and each week I'll pick one winner to win one of these special limited edition Sylvania Bluetooth speakers, and I'll mail it to you. And I might even throw a couple of other Fascination Street Pod swag in there as well. So tell a friend, tell all your friends, and include it in your stories on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. And don't forget to tag the show, Fascination Street Podcast. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2001 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jack's Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend, subscribe, and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.